Hello, I'm Gary York, author of Corruption Behind Bars and Inside the Inner Circle. This is my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. And also you can check me out at corruptionbehindbars.com. I wanted to talk to you today about the crooked officer. Now you probably think I'm going to sit here and tell you about how bad all correctional officers are. Well, that's false. I am going to tell you how bad a few correctional officers are, a few bad apples that I've had to investigate over the years and that we have to weed out of our system to remove the cancer. The vast majority of our correctional officers across this country are hard-working, honest officers with integrity who wouldn't think twice about jumping in and saving an inmate from a dangerous situation, or saving the life of an inmate who's choking or maybe trying to commit suicide. The picture's been painted false because of a few bad apples, a few crooked officers. Now, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand, and none of us can. We can't bury our head in the sand and act like there are not some crooked officers. Even if you work in this profession, you know we've had some. We have to weed them out. We all have to work together. So let me tell you about the crooked officer. The crooked officer wears the same uniform as you and I. He or she is a correctional officer, but not like you and I. He or she is a crooked officer that may be running drugs for inmates in and out of our prison. For the drug-dealing inmates, the crooked officer is the perfect mule and is nothing more than a pawn in the chess game to the inmates. The inmates will use this officer and then throw them away. Maybe the officer began the career with no intent at all of going to the other side or being crooked, but fell to the manipulation of the inmates, starting with something small, like a piece of candy, a half a sandwich, an apple, or a cigarette. And once the inmates hooked the officer, they had the officer and increased their bid, moving to marijuana, cocaine, even weapons, knives, guns. It's happened. And it's happened to people who do not watch and stand aware and be ready to resist the inmate manipulation. It's also happened by some people who have come into the system with the intention of helping the inmates and the intention of making some fast money. No one will stop the officer coming through the front gate with drugs possibly hidden inside the socks, the boot heel, the underwear line, or even inside the officer's lunchbox, inside the sandwich between the bread. The officer will walk through and deliver the drugs and contraband to the inmates for fast cash that he received on the outside from the inmate's family or friends. Oh, he or she is a sworn trusted employee, but not like you and I. They've broken that trust and disgraced the badge and disgraced the uniform and placed us all in danger. They've crossed the line so many times before, placing hard-working, honest officers in danger. Have no doubt, he or she will be caught. It's just a matter of time. He or she may think they're too smart to be caught. Maybe the fast cash and the greed has gotten their mind boggled, taken over their mind, and they feel powerful, and they walk the compound cocky with an attitude, spending more time with the inmates than their own co-workers. Something that we should spot and maybe report to our supervisors. No, they haven't committed a crime by spending more time with the inmates, but in our world it could be a sign that we could have some trouble starting, or maybe it's already started. Have you ever seen an officer laughing and joking with the inmates and dapping? But when the other officers come to talk, it's a very short, brief conversation, and he or she walks away. It's as if they've crossed over into the inmates' world and forget that they are wearing a uniform and a badge. This is something we should report. It's our duty to report that. Oh no, you're not a snitch, and I'm not a snitch. We're saving someone alive. Someone's life is at stake when contraband comes into the prison. If you don't believe me, just Google prison escapes in the United States and look at just the past 3 years at the officers that have been killed in the line of duty and riots and escape attempts. You'll also read in some of those articles how those inmates were helped by a prison employee, some even bringing weapons into the inmates. No, you're not a snitch when you report an officer who appears to be crossing the line. You're saving not only yourself, but all the other honest officers in the prison and the prison employees who are just coming to work trying to make an honest living. Did you ever think you might be saving the other inmates as well who could be at risk from contraband? There are inmates in prison that just want to serve their time and go home and be left alone. No, you're not a snitch. Someone will turn in the crooked officer. Maybe you, maybe me, or maybe a jealous inmate who's not getting their fair share of the contraband being brought into the prison. When the crooked officer makes his or her next drug pickup, possibly at the downtown Hooters parking lot, to meet a family or friend of their inmate partner who is housed in the prison, they may meet an undercover officer who they believe is part of the inmate's family, not knowing that the inmate is sitting back at the prison laughing, setting the officer up because he's used him and he's done with him. And maybe he's not happy with what the officer's been doing. Maybe the officer's been skimming some of the contraband for him or herself. But don't worry, I've been watching him for a long time with the help of prison management. And yes, a confidential informant probably. That's how it works on the outside. It works the same way on the inside. I can't just foresee things. I have to have help for my investigations. We've been watching him for a long time. The crooked officer now sits in the back of a patrol car, handcuffed, with his head down between his legs and a tear or two falling to the seat of the vehicle. It does not make me feel sorry for him or her. They've disgraced the badge and placed us all in danger. Oh, believe me, the crooked officer will try to justify why they did this, why they helped the inmates, about all the problems they're having and they needed the money. Not good enough. If you need help and you're in trouble, you go to your human resources at the prison. Tell them you're behind in your bills. Tell them you're losing your home. There are programs available to help you. So don't tell me now, after you've brought the inmates contraband, your sad story. I'm sorry, my heart is closed to that. It's too late. You know we have programs available to help you. Don't turn to the inmates for help. They'll just chew you up and throw you away. You're nothing but a mule to them. That's why you're in the back seat of this car now, handcuffed, crying and singing the blues. You're going to jail to join the rest of your corrupt friends. The days of fast money and cocky attitude and catch me if you can are now over. You're going to the jail to join your partners in crime. The next day, the newspaper screams headlines: "Another prison guard arrested." You and I look at each other in disgust and shake our heads. Demoted again by the media. Demoted from correctional officer to guard. Our image is tainted by these few bad apples. This is why they must go. This is why we must all work together as a team to remove them from the prison system. You're not a snitch. You're not only helping save lives, you're helping the image of the correctional officers in the eyes of the public by helping us get rid of the crooked officer. We must work harder to rid the agency of these drug-slinging mules who disgrace us and spit on us and laugh with the inmates about us. Once an officer crosses the line, he or she becomes property of the inmate. The inmates own them. We're going to find these crooked officers and we're going to put them in jail. Disgrace our badge and you will pay. We will find you. And we will hunt you down and we will work till we get you. We cannot have this type of behavior going on in the system. We cannot tolerate it. We must take a stronger stance against it. We cannot bury our heads in the sand and pretend like it doesn't happen. I know a lot of people do not want to hear, oh, I don't want to hear the stories about that. I don't want to hear the corrupt officer stories. Well, sorry. We have some. It's true. We can't ignore it. We have to fight it. Anyway, I hope this gives you some food for thought and some things to think about. Please let us know if you see an officer being manipulated by inmates or crossing the line. We need your help. We can't do it alone. Prison management, prison inspectors, jail detectives, we can't do it alone. We need your help. I would rather have an officer as a witness than an inmate, but many times we have inmate confidential informants that we have to use. But I'd rather hear it from the officers first. Maybe they could even stop and save an officer before he or she goes too far. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel here that you're listening to now for more true prison crime stories and also training videos that we post periodically. I've got one coming out on boot camps, and we filmed the training video at the boot camp where I used to be a drill instructor. And we have a very good former Marine sergeant coming out in that video who's going to tell you about boot camps and how they work and why we maybe need to keep them. So stay tuned for more, and thank you. I'm Gary York. Good day.